When you watch sports, there are some logos that you see again and again. Nike, Adidas, Red Bull. Those brands have built their empires on sports marketing. But if you pay closer attention, there is one new company sneaking its way into the arenas and locker rooms. Ronaldo and Messi are wearing it. So are Federer and Nadal. They have just signed a historic deal with Formula One and are about to buy Paris FC. They have also been everywhere at the Paris Olympics. The Olympic torch, the uniforms, the medals, the trunks to carry the medals, and the champagne to celebrate them. Oh, and the glasses. You get the point. We are talking, of course, about LVMH, the largest luxury goods company in the world, controlling 75 brands like Dior, Louis Vuitton or Tiffany. And controlling this empire of brands is this man. No, not the French president, but the guy who has his ear. Bernard Arnault, one of the richest men in the world, founder and chairman of LVMH. And while his fellow competitors for the world's richest men are all pretty famous, Bernard Arnault likes to stay in the shadows, with no social media and only very selected public appearances. But he is one of the most important businessmen in the world. He's been in charge of LVMH since 1989, and all his children hold powerful roles in his company. His rivals call him the Wolf in Cashmere because of his predatory takeover moves. But in 2024, he got another nickname, the Olympics Godfather. It is the first time luxury has taken such a massive interest in the Olympics. Before, those brands were happy with sponsoring polo or regatta racing. So what has changed? As it turns out, it's part of a wider trend that is transforming both fashion and sport. Welcome to Athletic Interest and the sports marketing strategy of LVMH. Okay, now we know it's a YouTuber cliché to start a story hundreds of years ago instead of immediately getting to the point, but with Louis Vuitton it's worth it, so bear with us. Because Louis Vuitton's story doesn't start with luxury. It starts in 1821, in a small French village where he was born. He grew up on a farm. No formal education, no fancy beginnings. But at 13, after clashing with his stepmother, Louis runs away from home and decides to walk to Paris. Yes, he literally walks. Over the next few years, he survives by doing odd jobs and sleeping in forests. By 16, Louis finally makes it to Paris, in the midst of the Industrial Revolution, and lands an apprenticeship as a boxmaker. This is where his craftsmanship started turning heads. Fast forward a bit, and in 1853, Louis is handpicked as the personal boxmaker for the Empress of France. Pretty good gig to impress your friends and build a brand. Louis understood that, and he had a vision. He opened his own workshop and completely reinvented travel. His innovation. You see, at the time, most trunks were round and made of heavy leather so the rain could run off. Louis came up with flat-topped trunks that were stackable and made of canvas instead of heavy leather. That might not sound revolutionary today, but back then it was a game changer, and business took off. When Louis passed away in 1892, his son George took over and expanded the brand worldwide. He was also the one who introduced the now iconic LV monogram to fight counterfeiting. It's still one of the most recognizable symbols in the world. The company stayed in the hands of the Vuitton family for decades, survived both world wars, until they decided to merge with Moet and Hennessy, leading manufacturers of champagne and cognac. LVMH was born. But the leaders of Louis Vuitton and Moet Hennessy had different visions for the group and started to fight. During this intense corporate battle, Bernard Arnault entered the scene and, in a bold move, started buying controlling stakes in LVMH. Some say this was a hostile takeover, but Arnault transforms the company into a global luxury powerhouse by acquiring top brands and allowing them to maintain their creative independence. Today, LVMH owns 75 labels and is worth over 300 billion euro, making it the largest luxury conglomerate in the world. This enables the so-called mega brand virtuous cycle. Its size and large profits let LVMH recruit top design talent, open bigger and flashier stores in elite locations, and support its brands with marketing spending that each brand could never attain on its own. Keep this in mind, it will later become important again when looking at the sports marketing strategy. But one thing at a time. The company's revenue went from 10 billion in 2001 to almost 100 billion in 2023. But this is also the problem. Even if you are super rich, at some point you have enough bags, rings and fancy stuff. Why buy another expensive trunk if you already have 10 at home? According to experts, the super rich are already starting to buy less luxury items. So companies like LVMH have a problem. In order to grow, they need new customers. They need to go mainstream. You might wonder why anyone in their right minds and without being super rich would buy a handbag for 1,500 euros. But the MacBook Pro was also made for creative people, and now everyone's parents are using it to play stupid games on Facebook. Bernard Arnault saw that the future of luxury wasn't just about catering to the ultra-rich. It was about making luxury aspirational and accessible to a broader audience. And this is where our story finally comes back to sports marketing. Because sport is the universal language that all consumers understand. And what better venue to begin this marketing mission than the Olympics? The reported 150 million euro deal put LVMH at the top of the Paris Olympics partner list. And they got a lot of visibility in return. LVMH's cosmetics brand Sephora sponsored the Olympic torch relay. Berluti designed France's opening ceremony uniforms. Jeweler Chaumet crafted the Olympic medals, each including a piece of the Eiffel Tower. Those rested in cases designed by Louis Vuitton. Every moment of celebration was somehow associated with LVMH brands. The Olympic partnership stands for something larger at play. The push of the luxury industry into sport. Ronaldo and Messi playing chess. Nadal and Federer hiking. Alcaraz, Osaka, James, all sponsored by Louis Vuitton. Prada sponsors China's football team. Thom Browne is dressing FC Barcelona and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Rolex is all over Wimbledon. Although this is not new. Are we going to see football boots from Louis Vuitton soon? Probably not. Maybe some prototypes, but nothing for us regular consumers to buy. The luxury brands will be more focused on lifestyle than performance products. But they joined sport with a long-term vision. Because it's not only the luxury industry that has changed. There is another thing. Before the Euros, videos of the French national team arriving went viral all over the internet, each pulling off their own style. Jules Koundé was even voted Best Dressed Personality of the Year. You had David Beckham back in the days, and Hector Bellerin a few years ago making headlines with his style. But it seems like fashionable players have become the norm and are no longer the exception. Athletes used to be only judged and known for their performance during a game or race. But today, through platforms like YouTube, they are creating personal brands and engaging with millions of fans. In the past, they had to rely on interviews, press releases, or what was covered on TV. Now, athletes can share their day-to-day lives, thoughts and values directly with their audience and control the narrative. This type of engagement builds a loyal community around the athlete's personal brand. We are no longer just cheering for their on-field performance. We are invested in their lives off the field too. And this is why athletes have become such attractive partners for major fashion brands. Because athletes embody aspiration. They are seen as symbols of success, determination and status. Take Naomi Osaka, who became an ambassador for Louis Vuitton. Her personal brand extends far beyond their court. On social media, she discusses social issues, her fashion preferences, and her cultural identity, which resonates with fans, and makes her more than just a tennis player. Her values, authenticity, and style align with Louis Vuitton's brand, creating a powerful partnership. So what does all of this mean for the future of sports and fashion? Athletes aren't just players anymore. They are cultural icons. They influence what we wear, how we think, and even what we value. And luxury brands like Louis Vuitton have recognized this, merging the worlds of high fashion and high performance like never before. And it's happening at a pretty incredible pace. While we are making this video, LVMH announced a 10-year partnership with Formula One. Just a few days later, we heard that the Arnault family plans to take over Paris FC to create a serious rival to PSG. And as if that wasn't enough, they are doing it together with Red Bull, which announced Jürgen Klopp the day before. There's plenty of material for plenty of videos. So what would you like to hear about next?